Right, let's start. Online, hope it's audible to everyone. Right, right. So we'll start with the introduction of this Webdynpro. Nice. One second, I'm just waiting for online participants. Right. So here, uh, the prerequisites for this Webdynpro is we should know the basic ABAP part. So when I say basic ABAP, we should know. I think it's already there here. Yeah. Basic ABAP means we should know about internal tables. Okay, we should know about what select queries, calling what function modules, all those things. Okay, then we should also know what object oriented ABAP concepts, like we should know about classes, methods, attributes. Okay, what else? Constructors. Okay, we should know about inheritance, polymorphism, abstract classes. Then we should know about what interfaces. Okay, so these are the things which we expected to be know. Based on that, we'll go for what Webdynpro. Am I clear? So what is the purpose of this Webdynpro is, if you take our ABAP, okay, it is what it is a GUI based applications. Okay, we can use this ABAP for developing what GUI based applications. Okay, web improvements, it is used for what developing what web applications. Web application means which are executed in what browsers. Am I clear? So if you take our normal ABAP objects, we cannot execute them in what browsers. Okay, so Webdynpro, we will be using this Webdynpro technology to develop what web applications which can be executed in what browsers, internet based applications. Okay, whatever features we use in ABAP, everything we can use in what Webdynpro. Okay, so as part of this Webdynpro, see here, as part of this Webdynpro app, first we'll be discussing what the basics part. Okay, we'll be discussing the basics. Then we have something called as what control programming. Control programming means if you take our ABAP, we have module pool. Okay, so in that module pool we have different what UI elements like input field, what else, button, check boxes, radio button. Similarly in Webdynpro also we have what many UI elements. We call them as what UI elements, user interface elements. Then we'll be discussing the cross component programming. Then we'll be discussing ALV reporting. The way we do ALV reporting in normal ABAP and Webdynpro is different. Okay, there is no link between ALV reporting in our normal ABAP, that is object oriented, and ALV reporting in Webdynpro is completely different. The development procedure is what different. Then we'll be discussing what some miscellaneous concepts like how to integrate the Webdynpro applications in what Adobe Forms, Smart Forms, all those things. Okay. Then we'll be discussing what a concept called what FPM, floor plan manage. So this is the overall what course schedule. Am I clear? So anyhow, I think I've shared what course contents with everyone. You can just cross check it. Is it clear? So this requires around 35 hours, 35 hours, but we made it as fast track. Initially for 2 3 days we'll go what 1 hour per day. Later on, from next week onwards, we'll make it what, 1.5 hour. Okay, that is the schedule. But we assume that already we know what these things. Again, we'll not spend time on what this thing. Directly we'll enter into what, Webdynpro. So what is the purpose of Webdynpro? It is a UI technology, user interface technology, used for what, developing what, web applications. Web application means internet based applications which can be executed on what, browsers. Okay, and this Webdynpro, it exists in two flavors. One is Webdynpro for what, ABAP. Another is for what, Webdynpro for what, Java. Am I clear? So what I mean to say is, if you are a Java programmer and if you want to develop Webdynpro applications of what, SAP, you will go for what, Webdynpro for what, Java. Okay. If you are an ABAP consultant, you have to go for what, Webdynpro for ABAP. So I just documented some basic differences between Webdynpro for Java and Webdynpro for what, ABAP. This is only for information. We don't require anything about what, Webdynpro for Java. Okay. So if you take this Webdynpro for ABAP, what is the programming language used here? ABAP. Here we use what, Java. Okay. And where do we develop these Webdynpro applications? We don't require any separate software. Okay, it can be done in what, normal ECC. It is integrated in what, SE80. Understood? We don't require any additional software. Okay, already most of us knows what, SC80. We use it for what, creating function groups, creating packages, creating module programs. Okay, similarly, as part of this SC80 only, we can develop what, Webdynpro applications using what, ABAP. There are other points which we may not understand at this stage. We'll discuss that at later point of time when we get into what, coding part. Okay, so the main thing is we don't require any separate what, software. Okay, so and before this Webdynpro, we have something called as BSPs also. Okay, BSP is also what, SAP technology only. I again documented the differences between what, BSP and what, Webdynpro. Okay, BSP stands for what, business server pages. So those who know Java, in Java we have JSPs, Java server pages. Here we have what, business server pages. So I documented here. Again, this is only for what, information. We'll discuss each and every point when we get into what, programming part. So the first thing is, what I'll do is I'll directly develop what, a Webdynpro application to display what, some welcome message. So why we are learning Webdynpro is, see here, if you are a ABAP consultant, if you're a ABAP consultant and if you're projecting any experience, either 2 years or 10 years, nowadays what they are expecting is multiple modules. Okay, it can be ABAP plus what, UI5. Okay, or it can be ABAP plus what, Webdynpro. Okay, or it can be ABAP plus what, ABAP ANA. Understood? So only ABAP is not sufficient in the current market. Okay, ABAP plus workflow, something like that. Okay, so again, most of the people has got a feeling that Webdynpro is outdated, UI5 is there. Okay, yes, going forward, maybe after 4 5 years, no one might use what, Webdynpro. Okay, everyone must shift to what, UI5. But currently there are many customers who has already implemented what, Webdynpro. Understood? So most of the customers are reluctant to go for what, UI5. Understood? Because this has got what, cost factor and resources factor also. If you take this UI5, okay, UI5 contains two things. One is what, front end, another is what, backend. Okay, so you will have a separate front end resources, you will have separate what, backend resources. So when I say front end here, he can be what, what, he can be a web consultant, or he can be what, non SAP background. He can be from what, non SAP background. So to develop this front end applications, we use what, HTML5, we use CSS, we use JavaScript. Okay, and we use jQuery. jQuery is also a JavaScript only, but a predefined what, JavaScript. Okay, so a developer must have the knowledge on what, these things to get into what, this front end part. Back end, this is purely by what? ABAP consultant. Am I clear? So two things is what? Development cost is increased. Okay, and why development cost is increased here? Because we require separate resources for what? Front end, and separate resource for what? Back end. But nowadays what is happening, even companies now, they are asking ABAP consultant itself to work in both back end as well front end. So if anyone is going for UI5, learning only back end may not have much of the opportunities. You should also learn what? Front end. Okay, but as I told you, there are many customers, hundreds and thousands of customers who are still running their applications on what? Webdynpro. Maybe in the near future, maybe after 4 5 years, all the SAP might say that they may not support what? Webdynpro. Then they are forced to go for what? UI5. So what I mean to say is Webdynpro will be there for next 3 4 years at least. At least. After that, I don't know. No one knows that. What is this? Understood? So we are learning this Webdynpro, keeping what? Next 3 4 years in mind. Okay. So which is good? Webdynpro is good or UI5 is good means I'll say both. Am I clear? So there is nothing like UI5 is good, Webdynpro is bad, or ANA is good, Webdyn, nothing like that. Any module you learn will have what? Job opportunities. The way we project is what? Important. Okay, done. So what is the basic purpose of Webdynpro? To develop what? Web applications which can be executed in what? Browsers. Okay, and online participants, those who are attending my sessions for the first time. Okay, most of you are old only. One second, let me cross check. Amit, Ashok, Nagesh, Santosh, Shravan, Sriram. Yeah, most of you are what? Old students, but still, see how the classes will go on is daily classes will be from 10 to what? 11:30, minimum 1.5 hour. Okay, and I'll send you the daily emails which contains, by the end of the day, it contains what? Detailed what? Notes, programs, diagrams, whatever it is. So what I mean to say is you need not take anything during the session. Everything whatever I discuss in the session, I'll send it through what? Email every day. So you can just copy that in your system and you can practice. So you will not take anything, and you will not refer any other outside material. Whatever the notes I share, that is more than sufficient to get into Webdynpro as well as to survive in what? Webdynpro. Okay, done. So there are many other theoretical things we need to discuss, but before getting into that, just I want to show a glimpse of what Webdynpro application. So I want to develop a Webdynpro application which has to display what? Welcome message. Okay, so if you take our normal ABAP programming style, how do we develop the ABAP reports? Everything we develop is what? Report only, na? So how do we develop? What is the procedure we'll follow? Huh? We'll declare what? You'll declare what? Some variables. Okay, you may generate what? Selection screen by using what? Parameters, or by using select options for reading what? For reading what? User inputs. Then what we will do, we may validate the user input. You'll check whether the entered input is what? Valid or not. Then what you will do, you may execute the selection screen. In this execution, you may write what? Some select statement which will get the data from what? Database, puts it in what? Internal what? Table. Then what you will do, you will process your internal table. So you take any kind of what requirement in a ABAP. This is the general style we'll follow. No? We'll declare the variables, we'll validate the input, we'll write some select queries, we'll fetch the data into internal table. You'll process your internal table by sorting, modifying, looping, and displaying all those things. Okay. Similarly, if you take our Webdynpro applications, let us understand what is the process we do in what? Webdynpro applications. Okay. So first and foremost thing is we need to create what? Webdynpro components. I repeat once again here. So first thing what you have to do, we have to create what? A Webdynpro component. So what is a component? We'll understand going forward. So first step is we need to create what? Webdynpro component. whenever we create a Webdynpro component, SAP will create something called as SAP will create something called as what? Component controller. Again, at this stage, we don't know what is controller. But what you can do is, you can compare this similar to top include program. If you take our what module pool in our ABAP, everyone knows how to develop what module pool program. So in SCAT, whenever we create what a module pool program, I can create it with the top include program na? Yes or no? Along with the module pool program, we can create what? Top include program. What we do with this top include program? We will declare what? Yes, we'll declare global variables, internal tables, will define what? Subroutines, will define some module definitions. Yes or no? In module pool, we have PBO event, PA event. Where do we write the logic for those events? Inside what? Module. So what I mean to say is, this top include program, we can use it for declaring global variables, subroutines, and what? Module definitions. Okay. Whatever we declare inside the top include program, they are global. I can use it throughout the what program. Similarly, whenever we create a Webdynpro component, what gets created? Component controller. So this is global for entire component. Means whatever is there inside what? Controller, I can use it throughout the component. So for your initial understanding, what will be there inside a controller means, so I can say a controller might contain what? Attributes. In our object oriented class, we know how to declare what? Attributes. It might contain what? Attributes. It might contain what? Methods. It might contain what? Events. We know how to handle what? Events. It might contain something called as what? Context. So we don't know what is context, leave it for the time being. So I can say a controller is a collection of what? Attributes, methods, events, and what? Context. So all these things. So whatever we declare as part of component controller, okay, can be used throughout the Webdynpro component. Done. Next, what you have to do? What is my requirement here? I need to display what? A welcome message. I need to display a welcome message. How do we do it in module pool? Yes, if you want to display any content to the user, what we'll do? We'll create what? Screens. Yes or no? We'll create the screens and we will design the screen. We'll design screen with what? Different what? UI elements, input fields, checkboxes, radio buttons, all those things. Similarly, in Webdynpro, in module pool we call it as what? Screen. Here in web applications, we call them as what? Views. We call them as what? Views. You can assume this view is similar to what? Screen. What is the purpose of a screen? To show the content to the user. So in Webdynpro also, whatever the content you want to show to the end user, that has to be placed on top of what? View. So a view is similar to what? Screen. A module pool program is a collection of what? One or more screens. Similarly, a Webdynpro component is a collection of what? One or more views. So you will create what? View. Again, whenever we create a view, what gets created? On behalf of this view, one view controller gets what? Created. A view controller gets created. Again, what is a controller can contain? Attributes, methods, events, and what? Context. So if I declare anything inside the view controller, what is the meaning of that? It is local to what? View. Local to a view, just like inside a function module, inside a subroutine, inside a method, if you declare any variable, we call it as what? Local variable. I can use that variable only within the block. Similarly, a view control is local to what? View. But a view cannot be shown directly to the user. View cannot exist on its own. View cannot exist on its own. So what you have to do is, every view that you want to show to the user has to be placed on top of what? Window. Just like if you take our module pool, see, let me compare with module pool. This is my module pool program screen. In this module pull screen, we have one what tab strip control. What is a tab strip control? Collection of what tabs. This is tab 1. What is this? Tab 2. In every tab you have to place what subscreen na? Okay, this entire thing is what screen? Yes, normal screen. In every tab we should have what subscreen, but a subscreen cannot be placed directly on what normal screen. So what you will do here, we will take what? Yes, what we will take? Subscreen area. ABAP is mandatory. If you are projecting that you are strong in Webdynpro means it means what? We are strong in what? ABAP. Webdynpro is also part of what? ABAP only. Earlier, no, they used to have separately Webdynpro or separately ABAP. Nowadays, what is happening is if you are saying you are good in what? ABAP means they are expecting that you also know Webdynpro, you know HR ABAP, you know workflow. All these things are getting part of what? ABAP only. It's only a training institutes who have projected web developer as a separate module, workflow as a separate module, HR ABAP as a separate. Everything is what? Part of what? ABAP only. Okay. So you'll place what first? Subscreen area. Then what you'll do? On top of this subscreen area, we have to take what? Yes, subscreen. So this is how you will distinguish. Na? So this is your screen. Sorry. Yeah, this is your screen. Sorry, this is your subscreen. This is your what subscreen area, and this is your normal screen. Similarly, you can compare this Webdynpro component similar to what normal screen. Okay, and just now I told what is that every view that you want to show to the user has to be placed on top of what? Yes, window. You'll create something called as what? Just like if you take our scripts and smart forms, we will create what? Windows na? So here also we have what? Windows. Again, when you create the window, what happens? Yes, window controller gets what? Created. Window controller gets created. Okay, and every window can contain what? Yes, n number of what? Views. So assume this is what? What? View 1. Assume this is what? View, sorry. Assume this is view 2. Again for this view 2 what happens? Yes, a controller gets what? Created. So for every view a separate controller gets what? Created. This is our view 1 controller. Am I clear? So what is the overall understanding? You can assume this Webdynpro component is similar to what? A normal screen. You can assume this window similar to what? Yes, subscreen area. You can assume this view similar to what? Subscreens. That's it. So this is the overall process. So what you will do inside the view? Yes, you will place what? UI elements means button, input field, checkbox, radio buttons, tab strip, etc. etc. So what is the overall understanding here? A Webdynpro component is a collection of what? One or more windows. One or more windows. And every window is a collection of what? One or more views. So we should know how to navigate from one window to another window. We should know how to navigate from one view to another view. How to navigate from one Webdynpro component to what? Another Webdynpro component. How to exchange the data between the views, how to exchange the data between windows, how to exchange the data across what? Components. So all these things is nothing but our syllabus. Am I clear? So any questions in this part, please ask me. First, let me take online questions. Online, any questions, please ask me. You can unmute and ask, otherwise you can use a chat box. Classroom, any questions? Ashok, Webdynpro. Okay, the question is, can a Webdynpro component can contain only one component controller? Technically, I can say yes. Technically, I can say only one component controller, but we have something called as custom controllers. We can create what? Custom controller, which will act as what? Component controller. But for every Webdynpro component, you will have only what? One component controller. If component control is not sufficient, if you want to what? Balance the load, we can create our own controllers on behalf of the component. That we call it as what? Custom controller. But technically, we'll have only one component controller. Ashok, is it clear? Okay, done. So what is my agenda now? I want to develop a Webdynpro component which has to display what? Welcome message. So how many views I require? Only one view. How many windows I require? Only one window. So during the course, we'll create multiple windows, multiple views, data exchange, all those things. Okay, right. So I want to display some static message, na? Like what? Welcome to Webdynpro. Okay. So if you assume this is a module pool, what you will do? In module pool we have text field na? In the toolbox we have what? Text field. You will place the text field on the screen. We'll set the properties, text property. So here also I need to check what is the UI element or elements available to display what? Some static text. Okay, so let me do the development. So what is the development process here is, I think I stopped it in between. First, you have to create what? Webdynpro component. Whenever we create the Webdynpro component, what happens? SAP will create what? Component controller. What you can do inside the controller? I can declare attributes, methods, what? Events and what? Context. Okay, we don't know what is context, leave it. Right. What is the next step? Create what? One or more what? Windows. Again, every window contains what? Window controller. Every window contains its own window controller. I can declare whatever I want. Then what? Create what? One or more what? Views. Done. Then what is that? Design the views with what? Appropriate what? UI elements. We call them as what? User interface elements. Okay, UI elements. Okay, then what? Set the what? Properties for what? UI elements. Okay, define the actions for the what? UI elements. Nothing but what? Event. So how to do it? We'll understand going forward. Done. Right? Then what we will do? We will implement what? Implement the what? Events. Just like if you take our ABAP selection screen, if I click on the button, what is the event triggered? At selection screen. Module pool, what is the event triggered? PAI, process after input. Here also we have what? Many events. So we are to what? Implement and what? Handle the events. Understood? Then what? Plug the views to what? Windows. As I told you earlier, a view cannot exist on its own. A view will always sit on top of what? Window. Understood? So you have to plug your views to what? Windows. Then what you have to do? Acha. Here when I say implement and handle the events, this can be at what level? View level. This can be at what? Window level, or this can be at what level? Yes? Component level. It can be anywhere. Okay? Done. Next, plug the views to what? Windows. Then, if you take our module pool program, can I execute the module pool program directly? We have to create what? Transaction code. We have to create the T code. Here also, what you have to do is create Webdynpro application. This is Webdynpro component. This is Webdynpro application. Whenever we create the Webdynpro application, SAP will generate what? URL. Why URL? Every Webdynpro application is executed in the browser. Na? Browser means what? You should have a what? Path URL. Then, if required, means I mean to say optional. If required, create what? T code for what? Webdynpro application. So if you want, you can create, otherwise you can ignore. So this is a general process we will follow whenever you want to develop any Webdynpro application. Am I clear? Okay. So anyhow, all these things already documented. So, acha, which version I require? I can use what? Plain ECC 6.0. I can use ECC 6.0 with what? ESP5. I can use ECC 6.0 with what? ESP what? Okay, ESP5 or what? ESP7 or what? ESP what? 8. Anything is fine. Is it clear? So now, yeah, I can. I am in what version? ESP7. So in ESP7, what happens is, in case of ESP7, we will create what? First, we'll create what? Webdynpro component. Whenever we create the Webdynpro component, automatically one window and what view gets what created. Am I clear? In case of the ESP7, automatically along with the component, one window and one view gets created. Just like if you take our scripts or smartphone, we'll get a main window by default. Here also you'll get what? One. How do you define a window? Window is a container of what? Views. Window is a container of what? Views. A view is the one which generates content to the user, which is responsible for showing the content to the user. Okay, right. So now I'm in ESP7. So I'll go to what? Where do we develop? SC80 Object Navigator. So I'll go to SC80. Yes, Ashok. That's what I said here. Create what? Webdynpro application. It generates what? URL. You execute this URL in what? Browser. Execute the URL directly in the browser. But you have to keep end user in mind now. When you keep end user in mind, end user cannot remember the URL. Na? URL is a combination of what? Protocol, host name, port number, what namespace, and what application name. It is not possible to remember what entire URL. That's the reason we'll create what T code. Remembering the T code is easy than what remembering the URL. Okay, done. So where we are now? I'll go to what? SC80 Object Navigator. Yeah, if I go to Object Navigator, it is SC80. One second, please. Let me use the other server. I'm having some issue in this server. Let me use other server, please. Yeah, this is also ESP7. This I'll use it for UI5, but still, let me. Okay. So I'm just logging into what? SAP. ECC 6.0, including what? ESP7. Okay. Yeah. So I'll go to Object Navigator SC80. First time this will be slow, right? So in the Object Navigator, in the drop down, okay. So in a normal app, we use what? Package, program. What is this? Function group, all those things. So I'll go for what? Webdynpro component. I'll choose Webdynpro component. Then here I have to give what? Component name. Just like in our normal app, we have standard reports also, which is given by what SAP. Na? Similarly, here also there are many standard Webdynpro components given by what? SAP itself. Okay, I repeat once again. There are many standard Webdynpro components given by SAP. Okay, these Webdynpro components I can directly what? Use. I can directly use, or sometimes you will get the requirement to enhance them. Enhance the standard Webdynpro component. Am I clear? So this again will be touching this standard Webdynpro components when we go to this concept. What is cross component programming using what? Standard Webdynpro components. So till that time we'll be creating what? Our own Webdynpro component. So let me go to that. So since it is my custom Webdynpro component, I have to start with what? Z or what? Y. So I'll say Z 10 a.m. WD1. Any name I can give, I'll follow the sequence. Z 10 a.m. WD1. I have to press enter. When I press enter here, I think the server is slow. One second, just hold on. Yeah. So this is my Webdynpro component. I'll press enter. Yeah, when I press enter, what is the message I got? Webdynpro component slash interface so and so does not exist. Create the object, yes. So here I am working in which version? ESP 7. So when I try to create this Webdynpro component, when I say yes here, it is asking some description. Let me give a description as something component what? One. What is the radio button selected here? Webdynpro component. Let it be selected. Later on we'll be discussing what? This one. So here by default is what? Webdynpro component. It is asking what? Window name and what? View name. Is it clear? If you are working in plain ECC 6.0, plain ECC 6.0, what happens is you'll along with the component only what? Window gets what? Created. Separately I have to create the view and attach the view to what? Window. But from ESP 7 on ESP 5 onwards, along with the component, one window gets created, one view gets created, and this view will be automatically embedded in what? Window. If you create extra views, I have to attach it separately. But this default view will be embedded by default in what? Window. Okay. So let me go back here. So what is the window name? What is the component name? Z10am WD1. What is the window name it is proposing? Z10am WD1. So component name and window name are what? Same. It can be same or it can be different. So just to avoid confusion, I'll suffix this as underscore win. One second please. Server is low. I can use this server. This is fast only, but I'm having one issue and I need to rectify that. Yeah. So what is the window name I give? Component name underscore what? Window. What is the view name proposed here by default? Main. If you want, you can change it. Otherwise, ignore it. Right? Let it be main view only. Continue. Okay. So I'm trying to create the component. Yeah. When I try to create the component, as usual, it is asking what? Package. Just like our normal R3, here also everything is what? Same. I'll save it in what? Local object, or you save it in a transportable package. So I'll save it in what? Local object. Yeah, it will be created. So whenever a component is created, what happens along with the component? Already I gave the diagram now. What is that? Along with the component, what gets created? Component controller gets created. So I can observe here, this is my component. If I under this component, you can see we have what component. There are other things also. Just park it aside for the time being. When I double click on this component controller, see when I double click, a controller is a collection of what? Attributes, methods, events, and what? Context. So when I double click on the component, you can see here what it is showing here. Context. We don't know what is context. Leave it for the time being. Then we have what? Attributes, events, and what? Methods. So just I don't want to what use this as of now. Then I'll go to what? View. What is my requirement? To display some welcome message. So I have to design my view now. So if I expand this, this is my view name. See when I double click on this, just like in module pool, we have screen painter, na? Screen painter, where we can click and draw. Click and draw. That should click and draw. Here it is what drag and drop. In module pool, it is what click and draw. Here it is what drag and drop. So this is my what main window. It is in display mode. Let me switch to what editable mode. So I'll switch to editable mode. Right. So when I switch to editable mode, you can see I got a toolbox here. Na? Understood? We have a toolbox here. They are categorized into different types here. We will be using what all these elements going forward. Okay. As of now, under text section, we have different what UI element. So you can see this. One of the UI element is what text view. So I can just drag and what drop. Understood? Click here, drag and what drop. Otherwise in the right hand side pane, you can see in the right hand side pane there is something called as what root UI element container. So what is this root UI element container means? Again, if you go back to your module pool in the screen painter, okay, in SC51 we'll have different tabs, no? Attributes tab, what else, element list, what else, flow logic, and we'll have an application toolbar button. What is this? Layout. What you will do in the layout? Yes, you will design. What you will do in the flow logic? Yes, will handle what events, element list. Okay, what you will do in attributes? We'll choose what type of screen, whether it is a normal screen, whether it is a sub screen, whether it is a model dialog box, all those things. In the element list, we will generally not use it. What will be there in the element list? What are the elements you have designed here? All those information is available inside what? Element list. Contains what? Contains what? Information of what? Elements. Like what is the name of the element, in which coordinate you have placed it, what is the property you have to say, you have set it. All those information available in what? Element list. Similarly here also you can compare root UI element container similar to what? Yes, element list. So what is my requirement here? I have to take one UI element. What is the UI element I have to take? Yes, text view. Why text view? As the name itself suggests, I can use it for what? Displaying what? Text view. So I can drag and drop. Otherwise, here, this is my root UI element container. I'll right click on this. Just try to understand here. I'll right click on what? Root UI element container. There is an option. What is this? Insert element. Okay, right click on root UI element container, insert element. It is asking the ID. Okay, just like in our module pool also, for every element you place, you'll set the properties. Na? You'll give a name, right? Name of the button, name of the input field. Here also, we have to give what? ID is nothing but what? Name. I can give any name. Let me give it as what? TV1. Something, some ID I am giving. TV1. It is asking what? Type of element. What type of UI element you want? Button, checkbox, input field, whatever it is. So I want what? Yes, text view. So you can just select from here. It's a huge list. Okay, or else directly I'll say T. What I got? Tab strip. I'll say TE. When I type TE, I'll get what? Text here. Let me go for what? Text view. I can directly type it there. So what is the name of the ID of the U element? T1. What is the type of element? text view. So when I continue here, see what happened. One U element got added here. We can see left hand side. I don't know whether you can observe here. There is a small pixel kind of thing. One element got what? Added. So how do we set the properties in module pool? We'll double click, you'll get a property window. Na? So here also, see here, this is TV1. For this T1 below you have the properties. Na? So there are many properties. Which property I'll set here? Yes, text. This in pink color. Na? This indicates it is a minimum property, mandatory property. Am I clear? So when I do syntax check, let me save it. Let me do what? Syntax check. When I'm trying to do syntax check, I got what? What is this? Warning. What is the warning? Property text of element TV1 does not contain what? So what is the understanding? It is a minimum property. Okay, so let me give what? Text property. What is the text you want to give? Right, so I just gave the text property. I gave some value there. Done. So if you see the preview here, did I got that there? What is this? You got it. I'm able to preview here. Then save it. So what I have done so far, I have created the component. I created one window. I created what? One view. I have designed the view with what? Appropriate U element. What is the U element? Text view. What is the property I have set? Text property. Then I am not defining any actions. That again we will discuss later on. Implement and handle the events. Do I require any event here? No. Just I am displaying what? Some text. Okay. I am not going to perform any actions. What is the next step here? Plug the views to what? Window. We are working in which version? ESP7. So in ESP7, the default view will be automatically embedded in what? Default window. How do you check it? See in the left hand side, if I expand my window, this is a window name now, right? If I double click on this, if I double click on my window name, yeah, this is my window. If I expand this, did I got the view here? What is this? Main. Understood? So in ESP7, the default view will be automatically embedded in what? Default window. I'll do one thing. Let me right click on this at the window level. Let me right click and I'll say what? I am not deleting the view. I am just removing the view from what? Window level. I am removing the view from window level. So let me right click and delete. Do you want to delete? Yes. It got what? Deleted. But view is still existing physically, but not attached to what? Window. What is the message I got? Embedding of the view has been what? Deleted. Done. Over. What is the next step? Actually, we have to plug. I have not plugged. Let's see what happens. The next step is what? Create the Webdynpro application. So how do you create? See, right click on your component, create what? Webdynpro application. Right click on the component, create Webdynpro application. It is asking what? Application name. What is the application name proposed by SAP? Component name na. Just to avoid confusion, I'll say this as what? Underscore app. Okay. All the windows are suffixed with underscore window. All the applications are suffixed with what? Underscore app. I'll just give the description. App1 continue. That's all. Application got what? Created. You need to save this. Application also will be saved as a separate object. Webdynpro component is a separate object. Webdynpro application also what? Separate object. So in the real time, we have to transport both of them. Component as well as what? Application. Because both are what? Individual entities. So see here, when I try to save this, okay, I'll get some information. Just ignore it. Continue. Yeah, it is asking for what? Package. Earlier it has asked the package for what? Component. Now it is a package for what? Application. Let me save it in the local object. So what happens whenever an application is created? A URL gets what? Generated. So if you see here at the application level, we are at the application level only. If you scroll down somewhere here, yeah, you can see now what? A URL got generated. So this is my URL. This is my URL. Let us understand it later on. Done. So I need to execute now. I need not create what? T code. So before I execute, I need to activate everything now. I have to activate the windows, activate the view, activate the whole component. Right. So let me right click on what? Webdynpro component and say what? Activate. So it is getting activated. Yeah, it's got activated. Let me cross check everything. I'll double click on window. Window is what? Active. View is also what? Active. So if you activate the component, all the dependent sub objects gets what? Activate. Now I need to execute my application. Na? So this is my application name. Under what? Webdynpro application. Just right click on what? Application and say what? Test. Right click on the application and say test, or take collect the URL, open the browser and what? Test. Okay, so most of you are sleeping in the classroom. Online, hope it's all of you are active. Hmm? Right? So right click on what? Application, say what? Test. Right? So what happened? I got the what? Browser, but did I got any content? No, because yeah, we have not plugged the view to what? Window. So what I have to now? Go back and what? Plug the window. So I'll go to what? Window level. At the window level, this is my window. What I have to do? I have to plug the view now. So I can drag and drop. I can drag this menu and drop it inside what? Window. Or right click on the window and say what? Embed view. Anything is fine. So I'll right click on this embed view. It is asking view to be embedded. How many views are there in this component? Only one view. What is the name of the view? Main. So if you browse this, what is this? Main. By default, what I got? Empty view. So I'll choose what? Main. Done. This is my main view, which belongs to so and so component. Continue. Right? So since I modify my window, it is what? Inactive. Let me save it again. Check for the syntax errors. Activate this. I'm trying to activate this. Right? It got what? Activated. Let me retest it. Better we activate the whole component also once. Right click on the component and say what? Activate. Right? Everything gets adjusted. Right click on the application and say test. What I got? I got it in the browser. Welcome to what? Webdynpro world. Am I clear? So let us understand the what? URL. This is a URL. Na? So this HTTP is called as what? So why I am discussing this is in the interviews you may get a question, components of what? URL. So HTTP is what? Protocol here. This is host name or what? What? Domain name. 8048 is a port number. Okay, and this is we call it as namespace or what? Working directory, and then z10mw1 underscore what? App is nothing but your Webdynpro application name. So a URL is a collection of what? Protocol, host name, port number, namespace, and what? Webdynpro application. So this is the way we do the development activity in what? Webdynpro. Am I clear? So any questions, please ask me. No questions? Classroom, right? So we have seen how to create what? Yeah, yeah. Now I need to create what? T code is not mandatory, but let us quickly see how to create what? T code. So how do you create a custom T code in our normal app? SE93. SE93. Here also we use what? SE93. If you take our database tables, for every custom table, we will generate table maintenance. We'll create a T code, na? Right? What is the T code for table maintenance? Huh? SM30. SM30. Okay. For executing any Webdynpro application, the T code is what? WDYID. WDYID. So let me run it. 1 second, please. Yeah. So let me open another session. So what is the T code? WDY what? ID. So if I run this WDY ID, observe here. Yeah. Just like if you take our SM30, if I run SM30, okay, if I run SM30, it will ask you for the table name, na? Understood? Here also when I run this WD, it is asking what? Application name. What is my application name? Z10am WD1 underscore what? APP. Okay, start. There are other two fields here not related to Webdynpro. It is related to FPM. So when we go to FPM concept, we'll discuss the other two fields. So here, start mode. Start mode, you should give it as browser. Start mode is what? Browser. Understood? So here in the application field, provide the application name. In the start mode, you give what? Browser. Do we have any buttons to click here? No. So I'll press enter. What happened? It has opened the browser. I got it. But again, for end user perspective, I cannot give WDY ID. Na? If you give WDY ID, you should remember what? Application name, and you should give the start mode as what? Browser. We have to simplify this process. So I need to skip this screen. I need to skip this particular screen. In order to skip this, I should provide the values for these two fields. Na? To provide the values for these two fields, I should know the names of these fields. Na? So I'll put the cursor here, press what? F1. I'll put the cursor, press what? F1. When I press F1 here, I'll go to what? Technical information. What is the screen field name? Yes, application it seems. Done. Then what else? Start mode. I'll put the cursor, press what? F1. Technical information. What is this? Start mode. Done. So application and what? Start mode. So once we know this, I'll go to what? SE93. Understood? SE93. Since it is my custom T code, I have to start with what? Z. Okay, I'll give the name as something ZWD1. Any name. ZWD1 create. What is this? Short text. So give any short text. T code for what? Your BIM for application. Then just like for table maintenance, we choose what? Transaction with what? Parameters. Here also I'll choose what? Transaction with parameters. Continue. What is the T code for any application? WDY idea. For table maintenance, we give SM30. Here we use what? WDY ID. And I have to skip the initial screen. Skip what? Initial screen. Name of the screen field, what I collected? Application. Huh? What is this? Application. What is the name of my application? Z10MWD1 underscore what? APP. Then start mode. What is the value? Browser. Huh? That's it. So just save your T code. T code is getting saved. So what is the T code name? ZWD1. ZWD1. So let me run it. When I run ZWD1, I got the browser with the clear. So this is a development process that we have to follow in developing the Webdynpro applications. Any questions? Okay. So tomorrow onwards, online participants, you'll receive the meeting ID between 10 to 10:10. Okay, between 10 a.m. to 10:10 every day, you'll get the meeting ID. You can connect and attend the sessions. Right. So this batch is not a regular track. This will be a fast track. When I say fast track, going forward, we'll increase the phase and we'll spend what more time, so that my target is by December 23rd, I need to complete this particular batch. Okay, so those are interested, you can continue from tomorrow onwards. Right. Santosh Shabrin, may I know you came through any reference? Anyone referred in Gensoft? Santosh Shabrin, or you are my old friends? I forgot. Yes, Shabrin, referred by Ramesh. Ramesh. Okay. He has done any course here, Santosh? Ramesh. TCS, huh? Okay. What about others? Sriram, I think you are my old student.
No,
Anyone referred you, Sriram?
no, I am the
Sorry?
old student.
Old student. Okay, yeah. Fine. Fine. Yeah, others I know. Done? Right, so we'll continue tomorrow around what, 10 o'clock. Okay, chalo. So I'm winding off. Whatever we discussed today, I'll share this session. Okay, I'll share the notes and programs, everything. Chalo.